Good morning, everyone. I find it funny that people say America has no culture, and they all want to travel the world and discover all the cultures out there, out in India and China, Japan, even Europe occasionally, Africa, South America. And yet we have no interest in finding the culture of our past and discovering the old traditions that used to be passed down from generation to generation, and then we forgot somewhere along the line that stopped. And you've been robbed. You've been robbed of the old traditions, and you don't even really know it. How many of you know anything about your ancestors? I'm sure some of you vaguely know you're Irish or Danish, German, Polish, from Britain, or whatever. But do you know any of their stories? Any names from your past? Somewhere along the line, our forebears stopped passing along their history, their skills, their knowledge, and I think most importantly, our traditions. They're all lost. Except for the gift giving on Christmas, which has been corporatized all to hell. I was hearing about this German tradition for Easter, they call it the Easter fire, where after dusk they light a fire. It's a huge bonfire, and they party till the morning, and that's when they let the fire go out. They say usually around 6, but as the sun's coming up, they let it die out, and it's a symbol of beating off the darkness of the winter and embracing the renewal of life for spring. And in the Christian church, it was a symbol for Christ's resurrection and renewal of the world. Of course, you might be asking, why tradition? What is it needed for? What do we need the past for? What do we need to know about our ancestors? How many times have you been working mindlessly day to day, unaware what day in the week it is? Your work has little meaning. It's a paycheck so you can pay the bills and keep feeding the corporate machine. Many men work, they come home, and they collapse, their souls spent just trying to provide. Women often work now as well. Past, they didn't. Whatever you want to say about that. They're separated from their children and often miserable, trying to find a purpose and meaning in their work. Our lives are empty, playing video games and drinking away our time. The past generations have wandered aimlessly, our Gen Xers and millennials in particular. It wasn't their fault our connections to the past were lost, or that the religions of the past have also died. But at some point you must ask, where does all this responsibility lie? Have any of you noticed how socially inept we've become? Silences in conversations are considered awkward, or how people are scared of having a tough conversation and usually avoid them altogether. Don't even have them. I've tried to make new friends. You set up a date to hang out, and oftentimes they flake and they don't say a word. They don't show up. They don't say anything to you. They don't even text you. Isn't that kind of strange? And yet they complain. They'll often complain about how lonely they are and how they don't have any friends. Or all their friends want to use them. They go to parties and drink all the time, but they don't care. Church, for those of you who are religious, has become a way for emotionally unhinged people to express themselves, or a pale shadow of the traditions of the past. Another observation, during this current crisis with the virus, we're finding out how much we rely on Walmart and these huge retail stores for absolutely everything. We are consumers, 100%. And this isn't a problem, except for the fact that we don't generate anything on our own. Our inheritance was taken from us. We were given to the corporations who don't care about us at all. How does this change? Why is tradition important? To revive the soul and find meaning. What can we do to generate and not only consume? Christmas used to be a way to symbolize generosity and to give to those who had need. Before electricity, imagine this. Imagine a couple hundred years ago where we didn't have electricity, we didn't have all this technology. And let's say a trader who brought things from afar, he brought, let's say, salt from somewhere far away that the community desperately needed. But he had a bad year. He got poached all year. They took everything he had. And now he can't feed his kids. Or let's say a farmer lost his crops to pests, or a man with livestock lost his animals to a predator. Taking account for our community and being generous might well have saved lives. How can this tradition help society now? Let's go back to the social aspect for a minute. Do you know your neighbors, your community? We're all connected to the internet, but not connected to each other. We always hear about charities, but I have no clue if people in our community need help. Branch out a little and find those who need a little Christmas generosity and revive that old tradition. Tradition in the past was a way to remember. It was a way to remember the past and reenact it in the current moment. It was a way to bring communities together and bind us. We're no longer connected to that. Our past is forgotten. Religion gave us a common mission and helped us work together. We can mostly agree on, I think, the Christian ethics. And I see atheists today trying to make their own religion without God or supreme being, but the same ethics. Whether or not you agree with this, I think is banal, because Western countries' ethics are far different from the rest of the world and often has its own unique flavors. Even if you're against religion's tradition gave us a sense of time, connected us to our past and to the earth, and we relived something our ancestors did hundreds of years ago, connecting us to them. I listened to an interview with a Quaker once, and I was shocked to hear her say that she had a 150-year-old dresser. Her mother's mother had it. 4th generation down. She was holding history and using it every single day. Imagine having a recipe that's been in your family for generations, honoring their memory, and having a piece of furniture and imagining the hands of those who were touching the same thing you are now. What if you could do that? What if you could capture a little bit of history and give it to your children? Find some old documents of your great-great-grandparents and show them. Find their battles and then realize that their same genes flow in your veins. Many of us also have an opportunity, those of us who can't find the history of our ancestors, who can't find the history of our parents and our grandparents. We have an opportunity to start writing down the history, to start making a new family tradition that is unique to your family. You know, it's funny. A lot of people who get tattoos, people who get the whole arm sleeves, or they have tattoos with little phrases and stuff, or a colored butterfly or something. A lot of these people, they're trying so hard to be unique. They're trying so hard to be different from everybody else. And what used to separate us from other families was the family traditions, the way they did their day-to-day tasks. There was a certain routine that they had was different. And that marked them as different from the community. And we get these tattoos today, and they mean literally nothing. But these family traditions, perhaps you had a great-grandfather who was a lion hunter, and you have this lion tooth or something that, that was passed from generation to generation. And then that would be a tradition that would mean something. It would make you unique. And perhaps maybe that's what those people are trying to find, that sense of uniqueness to the rest of the community. But something that actually means something, I think, would provide a good deal more meaning to them. We need a way to give life to those around us, a little bit of richness and memory, meaning and stories to make generations laugh, guffaw, wonder, and dream about the future. Life is empty without friends and family, void without connections. We must remember and find the old connections again to the earth and to our past. Leave a comment on how you'll find the past and make your own bit of history